We are back at it again with the day 2 or part 2 to my STI swap, and I have one goal in mind, and that is to pretty much get this thing fully torn apart. So for sure, the things that I want to knock off my list is the fact that I'm going 5x114 hubs. That's what I'm gonna start taking apart right now. The front whole assembly there, that's all gonna come out, the brakes, all that stuff, front axles, and also the rear as well. And if I can get those swapped out, I will be really, really stoked. And maybe possibly dropping the trans, but I'm actually gonna go to Harbor Freight either today or tomorrow and get this little jack. It's like a 500-pound rated jack. It's got little wheels, and it's gonna be perfect to actually drop possibly my rear subframe and the rear differential, the whole rear end, you know what I mean? And then also, I'm gonna be using that for the transmission as well. So I might be going there, might not. I'm gonna see how far I can actually get, and should be pretty good.
First things first, you're gonna get these axle nuts off. Gotta get a little flathead and a hammer. Gotta get this guy out of the way because you can see it's pinched in there. That's how you kind of lock it and secure it. And once you do that, got this guy all set up, ready to go, blast off that nut. Alright, as you can see, axle just pulled right out. The entire 5x100 knuckle is gone as well. Obviously, all you need to do, lower control arm with that little castle nut. Same thing with the tie rod. These two bolts that are connected to the top of the knuckle, and then everything pretty much pulls out. Obviously, I got the brake caliper off as well. I'm not sure if I've recorded that or not because it's pretty focused, but it's fine. Moving on to the next one, making good progress. Alright, so the entire front end is torn apart, passenger side and driver side, axles out, the complete knuckles out, of course. Just finished up this side too. Definitely happy with the progress that we're making today. Next step, honestly not too sure. Okay, don't make fun of all the gear that I'm wearing right now. Just want to stay protected as always. Anyway, I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start tearing apart the rear just like I did the front. So I just figured out how to properly disconnect the e-brake assembly, because that's kind of what's going to be holding me up once I get all the bolts off for the knuckle itself. And this is the e-brake cable right here, and you have to know a little bit about drum brakes to actually know how to disconnect it. Luckily, I obviously went to school for it, so I have a pretty good background and I could explain it hopefully pretty well so you guys can understand how to actually properly do it. But you are going to need some drum brake tools, which I'll show you in a second, which is going to be this guy here, to actually get access to the little cable that you need to get to. So it's not going to be too bad, I don't think. Pretty much the same process at the front. Obviously going to get a flathead right there, or get a flathead and a hammer, and get this axle nut off as well. Once that's off, I'm probably going to get the brake off, disconnect obviously the brake line, get the caliper out of here, and then kind of same process. There's 2 bolts holding on the strut to the knuckle, and then I think there's 1 or 2 bolts that go through the knuckle itself, kind of like for the rear lateral links or rear control arms, whatever you want to call it. So a few things you got to get to, but hopefully we can get these guys off, and I think that's going to be it. Sometimes when working on cars, you have to accept defeat for the day, and I think that's what I'm gonna have to do, unfortunately. So pretty much what has happened, you guys saw probably a little time lapse of me taking everything apart. There's only one bolt pretty much holding on the knuckle, but how you get the rotor off and kind of expose the whole drum brake assembly for the e-brake that I was trying to disconnect and show you guys, you have to shock it loose. So that's what I did on the STI one, which I could show you guys over there in the garage. But you pretty much get a hammer and you kind of just tap along and it should shock it loose. I've literally annihilated this thing and it's just not happening. The e-brake's down, the brake shoes aren't like pushed against it or anything. So I'm pretty much just gonna have to come back at it tomorrow, I guess. I don't know, I don't have enough energy or strength to do this right now, so it kind of sucks. But I can show you kind of what I was taking apart. You can see 2 bolts, 1, 2. This is the only one that's really holding it on. So I did those guys, and then I did the big one right there, goes through right here, and then there's another one at the bottom. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. There's one right there as well, holding this thing on. And pretty much what's going to be next is obviously getting the rotor off itself and then showing you how to disconnect the e-brake, but I think that's going to have to be the next video. Okay, here you could see this is what obviously looks like with the rotor off, and I obviously took off one of the brake shoes on this side is because this is actually where the e-brake cable comes through, and comes pretty much behind here, goes through, and there's a little cable that's connected here. You take off this one shoe and you're able to actually pull the cable all the way out. So I'm going to do that obviously on that one and then fish the e-brake cable through and reconnect and reassemble this little brake shoe thing for the e-brake. So I got the STI one pretty much all ready to go, but obviously the WRX one is being annoying. It still wants to stay at WRX, which is okay. It's going to have some STI parts eventually, but in the meantime we're going to let it rest. Here is also some WRX stuff that you could see here. A lot of people said they wanted to see the compare and contrast of WRX versus STI. This is all the WRX stuff. I'll get the STI axle over here so we can actually see the difference. Okay, so WRX versus STI front axle, you could see slightly different. Almost looks like the WRX one looks a little bit longer. Kind of like the drive shaft, a little bit longer, a little skinnier, and a little bit shorter, a little bit more stout on the STI one. So for the guy that said he wanted to see more compare and contrast to WRX versus STI, there's your difference. That's what you're paying for. So I think that's pretty much it. So I think that's going to be it for today's video, and tomorrow I think I'm probably going to go in again and start out by fully disassembling the rear, and I think that's when I'm going to make my trip to Harbor Freight and show you guys this little pump jack pretty much that's on wheels, and it's going to make it a lot easier to drop the rear diff, also the transmission, and then obviously you get all the STI stuff in there. So I think tomorrow's gonna be a pretty big day too. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you guys learned something. But definitely hope I helped out. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed and catch you on the next one. Peace out.